Webheads, welcome to another episode of Spider-Man Weekly. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer. This is Comic Book Corner 2.0. You're here because we're going to discuss the latest, the greatest, maybe not so great, Spider-Man comic books. And this week, we're going to discuss two comic books. We're going to talk about Spider-Man. This is issue 7. And then we're going to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man issue 23 as we're getting ready to hit the climax of what you think is Zeb Wells' run here. Could be wrong. I don't know. So when it comes to Spider-Man, this book was huge Spec book this week because of the Spider-Boy character. Is this dead Spec? Are people overhyping this book because it's the newest Spider character? I mean, in this comic book alone, there's got to be at least 200 spiders on the page, right? What's one more freaking character? Like, who cares? What makes Spider-Boy different than all of the other Spider characters that we have been introduced in the past? So I want to know in the comments below, did your shop sell out of this comic book? Did you get that variant cover? Do you think this is dead Spec? Again, let me know all that stuff in the comments below. I didn't get the variant. They were sold out of it. I want it because the cover looks freaking cool. I think that was awesome, and that was my main take. But my shop sold out of that comic book. They still have issue 6, 5, 4, and I think even 3 on the racks. So that shows you how many people cared about this series to begin with. But as soon as Spider-Boy popped up, boom, there he was, right? So what happened in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? Well, we find out that Morlun, right, wind up getting stabbed by this knife, and it releases all of the spiders. It was like a spider piñata. You broke it open and they all poured out all over the place. And Mark Bagley probably had a freaking crazy time drawing all these different spider characters. That's got to be so hard as an artist. And I bet he's probably so happy that this story arc is over, right? Morlun is completely depleted of any type of power, and he's all weakened. He feels like he's got to feed, but he feels like he needs to regroup his senses and he's got to hide. So he takes off, and this is going to take place. The story will continue with him in the Web of Carnage issue 1, just so if you want to follow his story. And then we just get to see this big battle between all of the spiders and Shathra. We get to see all the spider mechs. We get to see all the Peter Parkers themselves. You see Mayday. You see a lot of characters in here, man. So that was kind of cool. I mean, it was an entertaining read, and I felt like this book did get better as time has gone along, ever since they introduced, Peter Parker in the 616, not Peter Parker Spider-Man. I felt like this book did take a turn. There was a lot of action. They defeated the bad guy. We wind up seeing Peter Parker wind up going back to Peter Parker Spider-Man again. And they actually gave Silk a purpose. So Silk is now the chosen one to lead the Web of Life. So she's in charge of the Spider-Verse, and Spider-Man is in charge of 616. So I thought that was really good to give Silk a purpose. It wasn't until the very end of this comic book where you're introduced to the Spider-Boy, and he's like, "You guys don't know me? We've done a million adventures together. My name is Bailey." And they're all just like, "We don't know you." And so he gets pissed off and he just takes off. And then we don't see him again, right? There was some comical moments in this comic book, and and then it just ends, and that's it. So I thought this was a fine ending for this comic. I thought it was enjoyable. You got your Spec character. Whether he has legs or not is still to be determined. When he shows up again, we will see. But this is the first appearance of that character. We got a good ending to the story. And I'm going to see where issue 8 goes now with the series. Okay, so here's the Spider book you've been looking for. The Amazing Spider-Man issue 23. A lot of you guys in the comments below were sitting there going, "Mike, you know what? I think you're going to like this week's Amazing Spider-Man." And you know what? You guys are absolutely right. I really enjoyed this comic this week because we're finally getting those answers. Things are finally starting to make sense, and you understand why characters like the Fantastic Four, Captain America, Peter's closest friends are pissed off at him, okay? Now, when you get this artwork in this comic book, you're always kind of beside yourself. When Peter Parker's beat up in the comic and you see the face, the dude just looks so disfigured, it's not even funny. You just can't help but laugh at the way it's drawn. It's so hysterical. So if you want humor in this comic book, you're going to get the humor from John Romita Jr.'s artwork. It is hilarious. But the writing in this book is really, really well done, okay? So let's talk about it. The thing that you find out that makes everything make sense now is that when Peter went to that alternate New York, okay, he was gone for like a week. And when he came back running from the police, right, only a few hours went by. So basically, maybe like 2 hours, 3 hours, like equals a week in that other universe. So you can see how fast time goes in that different dimension. And now it makes sense why MJ has kids with Paul, because they probably felt that they were stuck in that future forever. And they probably couldn't help but falling in love and having kids with each other. And that's why those kids are so old, right? But in this comic, what's so good about it is that you feel that anxiety, that pressure, those stakes that Peter is going through to do whatever it takes to get MJ back into this world, because he realizes that he is losing that precious time with her, right? And that she might be much aged up or whatever the case may be. So insane stuff. And what he's doing is he's searching for help wherever he could go. He's like, I'm going to go to the Fantastic Four. They'll help me. And they're like, wait. We got to make sure that everything is okay with you, Peter, because, you know, you came from another place. And he's like, no, I don't have time for that. I got to leave. And then he's like, he runs into Captain America. And he goes into Captain America, and Captain America's like, you just caused some crazy ass explosions. People have questions. You know, you need to come in and talk with me. And he's like, I know you would help, Cap. I know you got my back. He's like, how long should this take? Like an hour? And he's like, no, this should take like a couple of days, you know, the most. And he's just like, wait a second, a couple of days? He's like, I don't have time with that. He's like, well, you got to go with me. And they have this conversation, and he's like, no. And he starts cracking Captain America in the face. And you can see the desperation on Peter. He's like, I don't have time for this shit. He's like, I got to rescue Mary Jane. I got to get her back. She could be dead. I don't know what could be happening because time goes so fast over there. Nice battle. And then he goes to the person that you never think that he would go to for help. And then he goes to Norman Osborn. What a great comic. I mean, I know the artwork kind of sucks, but the writing here was great, because whenever a writer can make you feel anxious while, you know, reading a comic book, or you feel that desperation in the character, that's good writing right there. And so you can feel that buildup now that's going on when it comes to the Amazing Spider-Man title, leading into those issues 25 and 26. So I definitely recommend this comic book this week, guys. Don't pass this one up. Things are starting to heat up. Okay, so if I had to grade these comic books, I'm going to grade Spider-Man a B. It was a solid book. And you guys, a lot of you out there probably didn't even read it because it was a spec book. Again, I want to know in the comments below, did you actually read the book? But I thought this one was a B. It was above average this time around. But I'm going to give this one an A. This was the better of the two. I couldn't give it an A+ because of that darn artwork. But writing-wise, it was absolutely phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to the next issue. If you guys love this video, you know what you got to do. And of course, if you love my content, click on Worthy Ones. This is the video series where I discuss all the new #1 issues I read for the current comic book week. And as always, guys, keep buying, keep collecting, but most importantly, always read your comics. Guys, I'll see you real soon. Take care.